Inside an untouched time capsule of 70-year-old Paris apartment, a treasure trove has finally been revealed. This woman who owned the flat, fled for the south of France before the outbreak of the Second World War and never came back. When the flat was uncovered after 70 years, everyone was stunned. The house was discovered close to a church in the 9th arrondissement of the French city, between Pigalle and Opera. An inventory of her belongings, which included a painting by Italian artist from the 19th century, was created by experts. One expert compared it to accidentally entering Sleeping Beauty's castle, where time had stopped since 1900. The finding was made by a man, who noted that there was a scent of ancient dust. In an effort to flee a German attack, the owner of one Parisian flat fled her house and traveled to southern France in 1942. The woman never went back to the flat, but she continued to pay the rent until she passed away at age 91. Martha de Florian's granddaughter of Solange Beaugiron owned the flat. In 1939, Marthe passed away within the flat. She shared an apartment with her son, Henri Beaugiron, who was present when she passed away and who saw and signed his mother's demise record. Henri Beaugiron's daughter Solange Beaugiron, a playwright who occasionally went by the pen name Solange Beldo, eventually acquired the flat. This Paris apartment was like traveling back in time, caked in dust and packed with antiques. In September of 1939, as the German invaded Poland, Madame de Florian, fearing the invasion of France, fled her Paris apartment, never to return. She locked the door behind her and left. All of the apartment's exquisite antiques and objects of art were a time capsule covered in dust when it was finally unlocked. The previous owner, a prostitute by the name of Martha de Florian, was shown in a stunning painting by 19th-century artist Giovanni Boldini that hung above the mantel. Additionally, the artist's letters were discovered in her bedroom vanity. After Madame de Florian passed away, her heirs discovered the locked apartment and hired auctioneer Olivier Chopin to assess its contents. What they found inside was astonishing. The apartment had remained untouched for nearly 70 years, resembling a time capsule. The question of why the flat was closed immediately before the war is a crucial component of the narrative because no one truly knows why Solange departed Paris and shuttered it. Additionally, the events that took place within the flat throughout Martha de Florian's lifetime transformed the space into something like to a stage set. As they entered, the auctioneer and his team felt as though they were stepping into a photograph from a bygone era. Dishes were still on the dining room table, and ready-to-move artwork had been removed from the walls but remained on the walls. The brushes, cosmetics, and perfume bottles on Madame de Florian's dust-covered vanity, where she had left them more than 50 years before, were waiting for her next styling session. A plush bird and 2 dolls of Mickey Mouse and Porky Pig were among the several items that captured the apex of pop culture in the late 1930s. The auctioneer's crew found a portrait of a woman wearing a pink dress among the many objects, along with a group of love notes neatly fastened with a ribbon. Further investigation found that some of the writings belonged to the famous Italian painter Giovanni Boldini, who lived and worked in Paris and is noted for his fluid style. His loving muse Martha de Florian, who was also Madame de Florian's grandmother, was shown in the picture. As a result of this finding, the picture, which was painted in 1888 when Martha was 24 years old, gained even greater significance. Her longing for immortality is also represented by the image in some way. Martha, a well-known Parisian actress in the late 19th century, lived a luxurious lifestyle and was the recipient of several prominent suitors' love letters. She was a socialite and an actress who had throngs of fans lined up at her door during her heyday in Paris. Her narrative was first lost to time, but it was rediscovered in 2010 after her possessions were found in her abandoned flat in Paris 9th arrondissement at 2 Square La Bruyère. The idea for Michel Gabel's book A Paris Flat came from the finding of her flat. A visiting card with a handwritten love letter from the artist was discovered in the flat. And a brief mention in a book from 1951 that the artist's wife Emilia Cardona had commissioned further supported the picture's origin. The image had never been listed, displayed, or published. The auction expert estimates that the piece was painted between 1900 and 1910. The picture was put up for auction with a starting price of €300,000 when it was rediscovered and following provenance study. The sale price skyrocketed as 10 bidders drove the final price to €3 million. It became his most expensive work on record.